Hello and welcome back to another episode of SuperCoach Insider. My name is Ben.
And I'm Chris.
And thank you for joining us for our Richmond Tigers team analysis, Chris.
We're getting right into it because...
We are, the
let's be
premiers.
honest, they might win games of football, but they can't win SuperCoach.
No, well, they can win SuperCoach if they hog the ball a bit more. But they are such a team-orientated play and game style that everyone does well, but not necessarily...
Yeah,
the same time.
they all have great averages. They all average, but they all average the same. There's very few relevant players this year, and most years with Richmond.
So we're going to do a little bit of a different format for this one because basically it is the Dustin Martin show.
Yep.
And but thank you to Dave Swizz. We're also going to have a special little segment for his boy Tom Lynch.
Ah, yes.
I'm like, how's he your boy? You've had him for 1 year. If anything, he's more my boy because he came from the Gold Coast. And he said, "Do you support the Gold Coast?" And I said, "No." But he was up closer to me before you have him, Swiss.
I like
so you just take care of my boy. Okay, so yeah, we're going to start off with a little bit. So let's look at the Richmond structure for the year. But first of all, Chris, let's go into our socials. Facebook.com/SC Insider.
Yep.
So that's our Facebook. Twitter, it is SC_Insider_ and Twitch, Chris.
Twitch.tv/SC_Insider and on all major podcast platforms.
Yes,
including Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Podcast, iTunes, and everything else. Yeah.
Everything else.
Sometimes I miss like 4 or 5,
And
but you get the picture.
Thank you for the love so far. We only have a couple more teams to go. Once the JLT and that kind of thing hits, we will go into our normal Twitch streams, which will be amazing from there, so we can get into that awesome content.
And we do have that top 10 podcast coming up. So
yes, they're keen. SC Elites are keen, and they're talking trash.
That'll be fun. So we're probably going to do that when they finish their team by teams as well, which is going to be... I think probably maybe in the next week after. So it'll be a couple of weeks away.
Hang out for that one for sure.
Yeah, it should be lots of fun. So
very interesting.
Get
and
involved.
thank you to all the love so far as well. I think our Twitters have gone up by at least a couple hundred. I think, Chris.
Yeah.
About 200 it's jumped so far this season, and it hasn't even gotten serious for people yet.
Which is 10%. So that's big.
Yes. Also, thank you to those that are hitting us up if we're having our division leagues and that kind of thing, and we will be dropping some league codes for just general leagues that people can join and that kind of thing as well.
Yeah,
plenty of time. We'll do that more through the pre-season.
There's so much time to go, and honestly, like, we haven't even sorted out the mugs for last year yet, so just give me a little bit of time.
This guy, he makes promises.
Just got back from the wedding.
You make promises, mate.
We've been very... You know how busy I've been, so it's not a lie. We've just been
send us a message or comment. Would you prefer... Like, do you think mugs are cool? Because we got some, but... Well, not some. We've got the sample ones. Or even stubby coolers. Because
I actually really like stubby coolers.
I like stubby coolers, right? Because I'm like, we usually toast. So we could toast with our own stubby coolers.
This is true.
And then ship
I'll be honest,
people...
I drink more beer than I drink coffee.
Right?
Maybe. Nah. I do a lot of coffee.
I drink more
All
than
right,
coffee.
let's get into it.
Yes.
So where do you want to start? Because, I mean, there is a couple of defenders that we could get into.
Well, I want to start with the draw, Chris.
Okay. Yes. Sorry.
Yes, if you heard me before I got sidetracked. Okay, so Champion Data ranked them the 7th hardest draw.
Yep.
So not too bad for Richmond. So seeing they've won, again, they'd be taken care of a
I think
little.
everything's easy when you're Richmond, right?
A little bit. But here's the thing, though. It is actually pretty easy. Like, but mind you, we expect them to win most games because they're a good side. So it's not like they still have to play everyone. So it's just, it seems easier because they're a good side. But if you have a look at it, though, their first 4 in Victoria, surprise, surprise, they have 3 of the bottom 10 teams in that, though.
Awesome.
The first month. So the first month is great. So for those who are looking at not starting Dustin Martin, I reckon he could start off with a good little bang, bang, left, right jab. Couple little shifty ones, and everyone will be thinking, crap.
2 things about that, but I'll leave my comments until we actually go into Dusty. Let's go there.
How about you hold your comments in general?
For the whole podcast.
In general,
People
Chris,
don't want to hear
don't
it.
you talk smack about Dusty, mate? He is in my side and he has not
it's
moved.
good things.
Okay, right.
Good things.
Okay, good things.
But also bad things.
Quick pro quo. Also bad things. You're an asshole. Okay, but here's the thing, though. They have 11 of their first 13 games in Victoria.
Yep.
So that's an amazing stat. Normally they save it for the back end of the year, but you know what? They're like, we want to start so far out
because
ahead.
people complained so much last year
So
about
they'll front end the deal.
Literally, they're like, we'll just change to the front.
They get a great start to the season, right? So 11 of their first 13 are in Victoria, which is great. Then they're like, okay, we'll give you more away games coming into after the buys and that kind of thing. But you look at round 18, they play the Suns away. Oh no, we go to the Gold Coast. We go to some paradise.
A little bit of a holiday before they kick into the finals mode.
Then they play the Dogs at the MCG. They then go Adelaide away, who aren't going to be crash hot this year either. So Suns, Dogs, Adelaide, right? Not too bad. Then they play Carlton at the MCG.
Easy win. Tick.
So that's round 21. Then they play the Hawks at the MCG. And I think I think the Hawks struggle with that style of play, the up-pace game. That's why Brisbane are smashing them all the time, because it's that fast pace that they can't handle.
I think, though, that's the
spread.
only way you can beat Richmond is the Hawthorn style, which is possess the ball,
yes,
short chips, etc. But
when they blow through that, then they blow through. Like Brisbane do.
They
Brisbane,
score so quick
they
that
hold on,
you get blown away.
Well, with Brisbane, they were holding on, and then all of a sudden the floodgates open, and they can't hold it anymore, and they just get absolutely flogged.
Well, and Brisbane are shit, so...
So Hawks at home, and then they play Fremantle. They play Fremantle away, which is round 23 before they get the week off. So it's like, hey, we'll go to Perth, we'll come back, and then you get a week off before finals. Dream run, right?
It's a pretty good run.
That's a pretty good run. So I'm really happy with that. I think it's really interesting, and that pretty much wraps us up for the draw on that thing. So Chris, I have had my leg up with my old man Hooley injury.
Yep.
So we'll start with Hooley then, actually.
I was like,
Hooley,
that was a good segue, but
I was about to change that. So Hooley, he's 571k, which is really expensive. He had a great return of 105.3.
Yep.
Mind you, people forget that he only averaged like 73 the year before. Right? Yep. 73.6. And he's had some ups and downs. He's averaged 95 and that kind of thing previously, but he went on an absolute tear in the back of the year. Funny, because he actually did have a bit of a tear in his calf, missed some games, came back, killed it.
Which is classic Hooley.
And then Hooley also, again, in the preseason, had a minor calf tear as well. So that screams danger for me.
It does. I think the biggest thing with Hooley's role, so the reason why he scored so well is that the role was there. The role was there because for a lot of the season, Jaden Short, who would usually be taking kickouts, was injured, and then he never really got that role back. So Hooley was playing so well that they were like, we don't want to move Short back into his role. Whether that changed this year, we got to watch the preseason.
Yes, and not only that, they needed to win games, and they were, because they had a lot of injuries, so they needed someone experienced to kind of try and influence games. And it worked, because they got flogged some weeks, but then they were winning games. And then coming into the back end of the year, it was just an absolute annihilation.
Well, I think that having both of them in their team is the best solution, but I'm not sure which roles that each one has. I will say that, again, with it being in vogue to almost tag the halfback flankers with the good users off halfback, Hooley and Short both are exposed to that every week. So, do I like Hooley as an option? No, I think he's too old. It rolls independent.
Sounds very negative there, Chris.
It is very negative, and of course he always gets injured at some point. So it might only be a couple of weeks here or there.
Well, he missed 4 games in this season. He scored 1300s out of 18 games, but he did have some big games: 132, 139, 142, 142, 145.
Big games.
Also had some lows of 60, 68, 71, 72. So for me, I think he will have some ups and downs and drop in price anyway. You are right in the unpredictability of his role, but the positive is, Chris, is that no one owns him.
This is true.
No one owns him, so there is that positive.
He's in very little amount.
Just because no one ons him doesn't make him a good pick, but it's just pointing out the relevant that, hey, if you wanted to pick him up and no one else does, there could be a little slice in it for you.
The other concern is that they don't have a great buy for upgrading. They have the middle buy, which is round 13. So again, if you want to wait, you might have him in the back end of the year if he's looking really good and the role's maintained
and he looked healthy and that sort of thing. Yeah,
absolutely.
You can bring them in.
But
it's
not
I'm with
the greatest.
I think he'll have good rounds. Great for draft. I think as far as a one-off season. Even then,
I think that he's overpriced for draft.
That's what I meant as well. I was about to say at a 105 average though. Again, as a defender, he is one of the highest. What's he, second highest?
He'll
average?
go second or third round, and I'm not interested.
Second or third highest? Yeah. Nah, I'd leave him as well. I'd much rather go Devon Smith. I'd rather go with Sicily.
I'd rather go Short. I'd rather pick up Short in like round 15 or something stupid.
Later. Get him like round 18. Anyway, so that's that one. We'll go to the next one. There's not many relevance for standard. So Dustin Martin. Big raps on him. And the reason being is he's 543k. He's a forward option this year.
Yep.
He is the Dangerfield of 2020. Not quite a full-on Dangerfield, but a small slice of reliability.
I think that he's probably the most reliable, definitely the most reliable forward that we in SuperCoach this year in terms of games played. The biggest question mark that everyone says on Dusty now is that they have altered his role to be more impactful at the back end of the season so that he's cherry ripe for the finals, right?
Yeah.
So I saw a great tweet the other day, and apologies to whoever tweeted it, that his game time in the early rounds of the season is impacted. So he's only playing 75 to 80% time on ground, whereas in the back end of the year he's playing 85 to sometimes 90% time on ground, doing a lot more forward movement with the ball, etc. And when he's resting forward, which is great for...
Look at you go.
Thank you, baby.
Speaking of these mugs, we did mention these before. So I've got the Chris, if you could let everyone see that one, that'd be nice. So I've got this one here, the good old, oh, who's that man? Who's that sexy beast here? Oh, I think it's Dane Zorko. Then, hashtag SuperCoach blessed. Which way can we go? Yeah.
Yeah, nice work.
Anyway, this is because I was yawning on the Port Adelaide podcast. Nothing personal, Port Adelaide. Just a little bit of a yawn. But yeah, Dustin Martin rarely misses game through injury.
Yep.
Okay, so he did have a bit of a knock and he kind of battled through a little bit.
That's
so he
true.
did play a little bit of a different role. Not only that, he got suspended for one round. I think he did miss out on Brownlow contention, which he wouldn't have won.
Which is just unlike him anyway. I mean, he's...
Yeah, so, but you put that in perspective though, the last 5 seasons, he's barely missed a beat. So
No, exactly
I think
right.
that's why, for me, he's the number one forward option because of that reliability. And I think Whitfield would be high punch, high impact, possibly going to hurt you if you don't have him.
Yep.
I think Dusty, if he starts off well, and the reason why I think if he starts off well, Chris, is because he won all the accolades known to man. We've spoken about this before.
Yep.
He then had that downside where once you win and you get everything that you want, you've won your flag, you've won the best on, you've won the Brownlow, you've won all the championships and the accolades. Where do you go from there? So I think he
agree.
went through the down cycle of trying to find himself again.
But his down cycle's still better than most forwards in the game. And
Correct.
If you look at his scoring patterns,
So
over the last 7 seasons, he's averaged 99.5 or above in every single season.
yeah, how do you fault that? How are people saying he's a bad
I
option?
don't know. He's only missed
the
1,
stupidest thing
3,
ever.
4, 5, 7 games since he started his career 10 years ago. 7 games in 10 years he's missed.
Not only that,
That's insane. Like,
people are saying, oh, because he went 119 and he's backed off the last couple of years. Yes, but he's also struggled with, his role as far as motivation and trying to be, to drive. So I think he could be. I'm not expecting him to go 120, right?
No,
as a forward,
neither am I.
all I need him to do is maintain.
Yeah.
And that's a good enough reason for me because I'm paying his price. If anything, he could go 106, 107. Easily.
I'm not picking Dusty because I want him for the first part of the year. I'm picking because I want him to play 22 rounds of football and be a total overall scorer. And that's the thing that you need to work out. So
if you don't have him, high percent ownership, he could hurt you. If he starts off and starts going on a heater of 120 average over the first 8 games,
absolutely,
your season's blown.
Now, he may come in and he may, for whatever reason, drop a little bit of cash to start with, but is he going to drop that much that it's going to be worth it? I can't see him dropping huge amounts of money to the point where, oh my God, I saved 60k getting Dustin Martin. Yay.
No, you're relying on him getting injured, basically, or having like 2 or 3 stinkers.
What it's more likely is that you're going to have him at some point during the season. So just start with him. Just pay that little bit extra money. He's only 543k for the most reliable forward of the year.
Yep.
He's more reliable than Lockie Whitfield.
I think the reason people are thinking of not starting him though, Chris, is because they're going, okay, I'll go Whitfield, I'll pay for that one expensive one, and then I'll maybe get someone else some cheaper options because it's they go, oh, I'll go a Devon Smith, I'll go a Jack Steven, so they're going a couple of cheap options, so 2 mid-price forwards, and all of a sudden they're like, oh well, maybe I can't have a Heaney or I can't have a Dusty in my side.
I just think you got to do the 1-2 punch this year. I think it's.
I think you have to. I'm doing a 3 punch. I think
the 1-2 and the big 5,
like a whisk,
like a whisk. The 1-2 and the big 5 is going to be very, very, very popular starting setup this year.
Yep.
And I don't think you can go around that. I think you just got to do it because one of the big things with SuperCoach is you got to start with the peloton. You've got to maintain with everyone around you, and then you can worry about trading guys in to give you that point of difference to try and better the field. But if you are behind the peloton early, you're screwed.
You will be. I mean, Dusty averaged 117.2 his last 5 rounds. I think he's starting to get the hard yards back in. I'd rather bank on him in my side than watching him. And if he goes a 140 against you, you're going to be losing so many rounds.
And available as a forward, man.
Forward. It's a win-win. As a midfielder, I'd be like, pass.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Midfielder,
yeah.
I would pass every day of the week. But as a forward, I think there's a
90% chance that he plays 21 or 22 games and averages 100. A flat 100, but that's...
I think he can go 105 to 108 again.
Well, he could.
Oh, yeah.
And there's every chance he could, but I don't think he's averaging less than 100.
No.
I really highly doubt that he averages less than 100. So
no, I'm with you.
And even if he does,
he averaged 100 on 2 bad years.
Yeah. He's going to be guaranteed top 6. I don't think there's any reason why you're not paying $540K for a guy that you don't have to trade because
Not
he
only
doesn't
that,
get injured.
we've lost so many forward options from last year.
Yep.
They all went to the midfield or defence.
It makes him super valuable. Very, very consistent scorer.
Who have you got?
There's not going to be many fluctuations in his score. I understand that last year he had those, especially early, had those off games. But like you said, easy draw first, so that could go both ways, obviously, with Dusty because...
Yeah. No, I think he beats up on a few people.
Well, he sometimes he goes massive against shit opponents, and other times he takes it easy and takes the day off.
Well,
and,
sometimes they put him forward against opponents and he kicks 4 goals.
Well, I love those games where they're like, oh, we'll just rest Dusty forward for the whole game.
Like Brisbane, I think he kicked 5 against Brisbane, I think it was. And I was like, damn,
I'm like, oh, yeah, so you can't let a good player down.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, the next one, Dion Prestia, $550K. I think he's probably too expensive to be in considerations. And I know people, I'm not going to announce podcasts or anything like that, but some people like to float the back season average and be like, oh, wait, what a great option here. $550K, Dion Prestia, average 110 for his last 13 rounds, okay? 116.5 his last 8, and 121 his last 5. Everyone goes, oh, that looks pretty good. And he went massive. I'm not taking away from that fact, right? But Dion Prestia, notorious for knee issues, hasn't strung together too much previously.
Yep.
I think the benefit is, from the looks of his form coming into the back end of the season, I think he's actually... Yeezy.
And the
Yeezy. So I think I reckon he might actually be training a couple times a week now because he was limited to only having 1 hit out a week instead of having multiple.
I think he's a great player, and I think that he's very SuperCoach relevant. What I don't think is that you can trust his body, even though he played 22 last year, and it was the first time of his career he's done that. Is he going to be a top 8 to 10 scorer?
I don't think so.
Mate, he'd have to be averaging a minimum of 15 points per game more than last year to be in that group.
Well,
so,
he's averaged 100 mark before, but he did average 88.9 last year, like the year before, should I say.
I think you pay 40K extra and go to Oliver if you really want a cheaper option.
So his last 14 rounds, he had games of, 131, 128, 125, 124, 116. Here's the issue I had, though, Chris, and this is why I think he's probably not a great pick. Even for draft, it worries me a little bit. He was given time off for Achilles tendonitis in the off-season. So
I have Achilles tendonitis. It's fantastic. I love it every day. It's fantastic.
You're right.
It's not fun.
But they played the last game of September, right? Then they have the shortest break. They give him time off to deal with Achilles tendonitis, right? Gradually building now and starting to run into 2020. So he's only just getting himself going. I don't see him starting with the world on fire.
With experience of having Achilles tendonitis, I'd have to say it's tough to deal with because it's not something that just heals. Time off doesn't really heal it. So it's just like you get up for games, have a jab, and you're right for the game. That's literally what he's probably doing at the moment. I remember when Brad Johnson had Achilles tendonitis in the back end of his career, and every game he'd have to have like electrolysis on his ankles. Like it was like insane. Like it's bad. It's a bad injury because it's just a constant management injury. Anyway.
No thanks. Okay, so we're going with standard relevance first. Next one is Toby Nankervis, 404K. Nankervis had a really disappointing year. I had real big props on him because he had averaged 100 for a couple of years prior.
Yep. We actually picked him both in our top 5.
Yeah.
Averaging rucks last year.
He started horrible. I think I picked him up as my ruck in standard, which also explains why in draft, which explains why my season was horrible in draft.
Yep.
So I mean, look, he went from a 98.2 average down to a 74.4. Didn't play the full season. They even didn't really play much in the back end of the year. He's cheap, so if you want that mid-price option, he rivals a Jacobs, a little bit more expensive than Jacobs, but possible big upside. But here's the reason that I actually have a bit of concern. All right, is that he actually had end of season groin surgery, so they had to reattach the tendon that was operated on mid-year. So he had surgery mid-year, then they had surgery at the end of the season, so they reattached the tendon that they operated on during the middle of the year.
Probably not playing early. Is he playing early? Is he running
being treated cautiously, back running, but they will gradually build him. So it's
no, he won't play pre-season. Surely he doesn't play pre-season.
So he's basically gradually starting to run up his load. We're talking about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So for me, that's not a good sign.
Maybe you could treat it if you do start Jacobs as a backup option. So you get Jacobs for say 6 rounds. He's not doing it. Nankervis comes in a month in, and you can maybe get him on the third game up.
If Jacobs gets injured, you could.
It's an option.
You could probably sideways to that. I think draft relevant is more so for Nankervis if you get through that first lot of rounds and you just go your forwards and your mids and leave the rucks because you'll have plenty of ruck options. You know, you have your Englishes, your Nankervises, there's lots of other options that you can pick. So Nankervis, I think for me, you'd be able to get him super cheap. You know, I mean, like if you'll notice, people will start going on a ruck run, and once they get through all those rucks, you'll be able to pick up an Nankervis or an English or whatever, like round 17.
That's true.
You'd be able to wait so long to get your rucks, and then it's more of a who do you want kind of situation.
I don't mind it. Someone that I think has a little bit more relevancy this year is Sydney Stack. So he's actually a defender this year in SuperCoach. Now, whether or not he plays round one is still very up in the air. He obviously didn't play in the final last year.
Yes.
And there's a big conjecture as to who starts because obviously Pickett was fantastic. You've got Higgins coming back from his injuries and his surgery, which is amazing news. Congrats to Higo. You've also got Jack Graham and about Camden McIntosh and about 50 other guys.
Well, McIntosh is injured now, so...
Oh, excellent. Classic. But there's every chance that Sydney Stack plays round one. He's very cheap. Let me have a look at his price. 400.
He is cheap. He had 500s, though. 103, 103, 106, 107, 108.
Yep.
They highly rate him. He is very dynamic and explosive.
35k, so someone definitely you can look at in draft as an option there.
Yeah, draft not standard. I don't mind him for draft as a defender option. Again, though, there is a lot of interesting facts about that, and that's the reason why there's not many standard relevant rookies is because last year when they had a lot of injuries, all of them got games.
They exposed them all, yep.
Yeah,
guys like Liam Baker who came in and
they
did a
did
job.
well,
Yep.
but the problem is that now they're all too expensive,
Yep.
and it's a year too late, and then when they have a full side, the only one is Marlon Pickett, who's 123k midfielder, played that grand final, but he played at the expense of
Stack. Graham should be playing in that side, so he's playing round one. Like in my opinion, there's no way Graham's not playing. So Higgins may not play because he may not have enough run in his legs.
I think they'll build him,
but they want him in. So there's another spot. Let's say if he's
up. Well, you're looking at Ellis.
Yep. So Ellis is obviously gone.
Yes. So Ellis went. You're looking at one of the fringe players went to St Kilda.
Townsend went to Essendon.
Essendon.
Well.
Yep. So he got delisted, Townsend, didn't he? And then got picked up Essendon. Yeah. And I'm trying to think of the other one. Small forward went to St Kilda, but
fringe player. Dan Butler.
Butler. Yes. That's right.
Again. Fringe player. Well, I think he was overtaken by Baker anyway last year, so I don't think there's any chance.
No, and even at St Kilda, he'll probably be a true Butler style and give everyone drinks and cookies.
He's just gonna be on the bench anyway.
He'll be their Butler.
So yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I honestly don't. I think that there's less than 50% chance that Pickett plays round one at this point. Based on what they're coming
They might go.
If he comes out in the preseason and smashes the Marsh series, it's not the JLT, it's the Marsh series. Work that out. He will play. But it's going to be a competition for spots early in that round one side.
I think that they could use that dynamic.
I really want him to play because with that easy start,
I think
Pickett could be that guy that makes super cash super quick.
I actually think he'll play. I think there's a role for him there. I think they're pretty impressed with him.
I really hope he does because we need that scoring power in midfield.
Well, I think he provides a bit of that X factor and that dynamic that they kind of need in that midfield mix. You have a lot of your Bulls and stuff that pick it up. I think probably someone that might be at risk is your Lamberts. You know, I mean, he was a mature age pick who has been really good and has been
super consistent.
Consistent, but I meant now he's getting on towards the late 20s. You know what I mean? Like if he doesn't start to perform, like him and a Caddy, these boys that are more like Lambert should be fine because he's quick, right? But Caddy. He's bigger. He's a one-trick pony. Does he fit their style of play?
There's just so many of those types, though, right? Like, Shea Bolton, who I thought was absolutely... had some huge games last year.
Caddy's strong, though, right? But then you look at all these other... Like your Higgins, they're a bit more smaller, nimble. It fits more of their game style, especially if you're playing Higgins and Lynch.
Yep.
All right, well, let's get into Tom Lynch, because Tom Lynch is standard relevant.
He is.
More draft relevant for me, but... Look, let's just talk about him anyway. So Tom Lynch, he had no preseason at all, 2019. Came in, they weren't even sure he was going to play... Comes into the game, gets the first mark and goal of the year.
Yep.
Well, first goal of the season. So he was paying probably pretty good odds, I think, to get the first goal for Richmond straight up. He averaged 95.7 his last 7 rounds, and he actually started to look pretty good. He had some good scores, 132, 118, and a 116.
Yep.
He's previously gone mid to high 90s previously for Gold Coast. But he looked impressive. Like at the start, he was kicking goals. He
looked like cumbersome, right? In the start of the year.
He just wasn't really running much. He was just kind of stand, kick, mark.
Which you can do at Richmond because they're moving the ball forward. And
right.
Like that whole stay at the goal square marking type, they haven't had that.
Here's the thing though. Richmond would not have been top 6 because they weren't even going to be top 4 until West Coast fell over.
Yep.
Right? They wouldn't have been top 6 if it wasn't for Tom Lynch last year.
Yeah, I think that's
because
accurate,
everyone else fell
especially
apart.
with Jack Rewalt not being there.
Rewalt wasn't there. Everything fell apart, and he kicked so many goals to actually win them games and keep them in games. So if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have been top 6, which meant they would have... I'm sure they still would have done very well, but you wouldn't have had that second chance and had that rest and then try and win and come back through that way.
Fair enough.
That's just
I think it's super important to their side. It's cheap at 388k. The problem with key forwards, like anything, is that, like Jeremy Cameron proved last year, and that like Josh Kennedy proved, is that
and the Ben Browns, and
absolutely they're gonna have runs.
Darlings,
they will have runs. Now, is that run going to be early? It could be, and then you make a little bit of cash. But there's two ways to look at this. Starting Tom Lynch, I think, is a good idea if you're really hot on him, because then you're riding the waves, and it's about overall points, so no one cares. But I wouldn't say, wait for him to get cheaper and then bring him in, because like Jack Darling improved last year.
Jack Darling went big, though, after he was on a small...
Absolutely, and a lot of people traded him out.
They did, and he averaged like mid-90s.
Or Jeremy Cameron, where he went on a big tear and he had a poor game and you bring him in and then he goes on a bad run of 5 games and, sort of equals out over the year. But
Hawkins, for me, went massive, and I was like, 150 odd, and then he followed it up with some 30s, and I was like...
That is key forwards.
I was like,
so
fuck you.
You've got to remember that when you're putting a key forward into your team, that they have those purple patches and they have those lower games. And as long as you're willing to ride the wave, then that's fine. That's fine. But don't expect consistency from a key forward.
No, they'll go 120 and then they'll follow it up with a 60.
You pick him to keep him for the year.
Yeah.
Otherwise, don't start him. So that's just... Yeah, you can't...
He will... I reckon this year he will have some 160 scores.
Oh, absolutely. I think so.
I reckon he'll just tear up.
He's the best contested mark in the competition.
Can't remember which game number it was. It might have been the maybe the wet one versus West Coast, or it could have been a final where he is literally just steamrolled. The ball was there, and he just went so hard at it, and literally just bang, and just took someone clean out.
He's huge.
So,
He's a big
so
boy.
aggressive. Yeah, that
He's
was what I
basically
want.
Travis Cloak Mark 2.
That's what I want.
Right?
That's what I wanted.
Except he can kick straight, which is great.
Yeah, I think Tom Lynch this year, Coleman medal for me. I think he will be.
I think so
huge.
too.
I think he'll be huge.
Do I think he's going to be imperative? No. Can you get him in later? Yeah, if you want.
I think he'll have a couple of smaller games. He probably won't get cheaper than he is now, but I think he'll be a good value.
Decent value. Guaranteed top 6, maybe.
It could be. No, top 10 possible.
Yeah. And so then you sort of go, well, because the forwards are so underwhelming this year, that's why he's a good option. Because even if he averages 95, he's definitely going to be in that top 6 to 10 bracket.
Yeah, but the problem is I'd rather go a Jack Stephen or a Devon Smith instead
Slightly
of
cheaper.
More possible, more midfield role.
And
right? More consistent.
That's it. More consistency. I'd rather someone that's going to hit me 90s to 100 every game instead of 160, 40.
Yep.
So you've got to weigh that up. Are you playing for leagues? Because or you're playing for overall. Because if you're playing for overall, great option. If you're playing for leagues, you can lose your games and win your games. So every week, I don't know.
It depends on your matchup. Last one I'll touch on as well. Jaden Short, 349k. If he has a good role, he did average high 80s. He could average 90 to 95, bordering top 10 at best.
If he gets that kick-out role, he could be anything.
He could. And watch that role. But if it is for 349k as a defender, problem is, though, there's a lot of cheap defenders already. But if he does well and you can find the extra, 70k, you might want to go a Dodie to a short. I don't like it so much. It depends on roller. If he comes out and starts killing it, then it's tempting. Right?
Oh, it is tempting because he's such a good user. And
just watch him.
He kicks goals as well because he can roost it from 65.
Yeah.
So, so many times he caught opposition defences out when they're zoning up in the defensive 50 and they take a mark, 55 out, cheap handball, and he just roosts it.
Again, draft relevant. I'd have him on my bench for that possible upside. I think he's definitely good value. Watch the JLT, see how it goes there. Apart from that, everything else is now just draft relevant. So you look at Lambert, Edwards, Stack, Cochin. I think Cochin's a big sleeper in draft this year. The reason being, he averaged he went from 89.7, which I think he had an injury and stuff on that one, to a 79.1. So he dropped 10 points. He can average you 100.
Yep.
I don't know if it's going to happen. I think he's letting everyone else do all the running and all that stuff.
He's at that age now where he gets those old man injuries as well. So.
I think he's just more impact now. He will wander in and out of games, drift, and let all the young explosive people do all that stuff for him. And then if something's on the line, he will actually go, right, they need me for a big 10 minutes here. And then he'll just go bang, 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 put it on the line, inspire. And
on the line?
On the line.
You put it on the line.
Was it on the line?
On the line.
I call it twatting.
Twatting.
But he's good value for someone who averaged below 80. You could easily pick him up at a high 80 average in draft, and I don't think he'll do you much wrong.
Yeah, I don't think it's terrible.
It's not terrible. Don't pick him at a 90.
He might even make your bench in some leagues. So
yeah, he might.
I'll
But at a 79 average, I think he's got some value there, especially if you're sentimental and you like Richmond, like some players, not me. But you could pick him up.
Your hand on your
because
on your
I'm trying to
there.
resonate. I'm trying to let them feel that it's all about passion and heart, Chris. Something you have none of.
That's true. Yeah. Well,
actually, that's a lie.
I'm heartless like a common Collingwood supporter.
Yeah, and then apart from that, Jack Rewalt as well, another sleeper, averaged 68.9. So he got injured on 33, so his true average is more like 72.9. The thing though, he actually did average 92.9 the year before that, so if he has a full body of health, he could be okay, but the problem was Tom Lynch wasn't there when he went 92.9, so he could
Absolutely.
be okay.
I don't mind him in draft, but not touching him and standing with Lynch in that side.
Draft-wise,
Yeah.
I think he's another sleeper that you could pick him up at. What do you average?
He shifted his game as well.
Well, he averaged 68.9. You could pick him up at a 75 to an 80 average, and I think you'll be pretty happy. I think he will hit you an 80.
He went from being the number one, target in the forward line to being the conduit to kicking goals.
Yeah.
So he's much more effective at goal assists now than he is at kicking goals.
I don't mind him as that lead up, swing around, hitting Tom Lynch.
I think he's fantastic in that.
I think he's the Tom Lynch of Adelaide. He could play that role of getting up the ground, getting a good contested mark. Problem is, though, if he gets it, he might offload it to another quick person going by. But I think it's great for the team either way.
Absolutely, yeah. That's I suppose the consensus of Richmond is that their entire team play for each other, which is why they're so good. They're a really great team.
That's also why they're only draft relevant mostly.
Excellent.
Yes, that pretty much sums us up for Richmond. Unfortunately, I'd like to talk about them more, Swizz and Maddie and every other Richmond supporter out there.
That's all you get.
As far as SuperCoach goes, that's pretty much all you get.
But congratulations on the flag. Well done.
Yes, I know. That's too many. Calm down, Richmond.
Too many. All right, guys. Catch you later.
See you later. Boy.